Still no sign of Hailey Dunn.
We haven't given up on finding her.
Authorities are still actively following leads.
All the agencies are engaged. Nobody's lost any traction.
The search party meets every day in Dunn, right down the street from Sean Atkins' home, the only suspect in the investigation so far.
You were the last person that saw her alive. Well, what did you see that day when you walked through the door?
Like I said, she was just in the living room watching TV. Nothing out of the normal.
Where is Hailey Dunn?
I'm scared to death that somebody hurt her.
No one needs that answer more than Hailey's mother.
Right now, it's not feeling good to me that I'm going to be able to hold my daughter again.
We are taking your calls live, but right now, unleash the lawyers. Joining us tonight out of Atlanta, Daryl Cohen, former prosecutor turned defense attorney. In New York, Alex Sanchez, defense attorney. Daryl, Alex, since when do you defense attorneys tell your client you can't even speak to your girlfriend? What about you, Daryl?
Nancy, my view is if you have nothing to hide, then you hide nothing. I never tell a client if he or she is innocent to keep their mouth shut. Only if I believe that they're guilty and they have something to hide.
Put him up, because I can think of cases off the top of my head, Daryl Cohen, where your client did not take the stand. I assume that means you knew he was guilty.
You got that right. If I think they're guilty, they're not going to testify if I have my way. Absolutely.
Sanchez, do you know how bad it looks for the former live-in not to even come to the phone?
Yeah, that looks bad, but, you know, he apparently is following the advice of his lawyer. And let me tell you something. There's two reasons why people don't speak to the police or the public. Number one is maybe they are guilty. But the second one is they believe they're the target of an unfair investigation. And I think there's evidence that's coming out here that's casting the Sean Atkins in such a negative light. He's probably saying, look, they have it out for me. Why should I speak to the police? And what am I talking about? Number
Sanchez, I'm not talking about talking to the police. I'm talking about talking to his girlfriend, Hailey Dunn.
His girlfriend is an agent of the police. Let's face it, the police want the girlfriend to speak to him so that he provides information.
Can you see the monitor? Take a look at that. How'd you like your 13-year-old girl to get off the school bus and come home to that? What about it, Sanchez?
No, look, you know, this thing about the photographs on the internet, by the way, on his MySpace, showing him in a black mask, making him look like he's some gothic murdering sect member.
I didn't put the mask on his head. He did that.
I know, but is it really fair to conclude, as some people have, that he's, you know, chopped her up into pieces because he's put this stupid mask on TV?
That's,
that's ridiculous.
No, it is ridiculous. But what's not ridiculous is to just look into the mind of a guy, a grown man. I assume that you two have Facebook or MySpace pages. I bet you're not dressed up in solid black and an S&M type horror mask, wielding a machete or a knife. What about it, Dr. Austin, Leslie Austin? What about it?
Well, Nancy, Sean Atkins at the very least is showing incredible immaturity by doing all that, and it does show some interest with the macabre. It does show some interest with the macabre.
At his age?
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a serious problem.
It's more than immaturity to me. And smoking pot. Liz, tee up the pot smoking. I want to hear him whispering into the camera. Okay? Go ahead, Leslie.
But that kind of really dumb behavior in public indicates somebody who's not very responsible, who might very well do something impulsive or stupid.
Let's take a look at Sean Atkins and what looks to be a big fat doobie.
This is somebody who's completely irresponsible, Nancy.
Kids, John trying to set home. We're trying to set my home. It's very dangerous. There's many things that can go wrong in this mission. One day, you know what we'll fucking do? Is get caught. If you get caught, it's all fucking over. So let's just say you don't want to get caught. All right.
Okay, that's apparently Sean Atkins smoking pot. It was on the Find Hailey Dunn channel on YouTube. Calls to Atkins and his lawyers not returned. Did I just hear him drop the F-bomb? Did I hear that, Liz? Yeah, I think I did. To Michael Sapriconi, former NYPD president of Squad Security, Inc., joining us out of New York. Weigh in, Michael.
Well, I tell you, there's no doubt that Sean's got a big problem, and he's a good-looking suspect at this point. But there's a lot of questions. I'm sure the police are doing the best they can here, but there's a lot of people of interest here, and a lot of questions of why they're doing things a little bit later than sooner, and how far are they going with what they're doing. I mean, there's a father, and of course, I'm sure he's a wonderful person, but you need to ask some questions, and there's a lot of questions that aren't being answered. I understand there's a brother who's 16 years old. When you have a 13-year-old girl, they have friends,
Well,
they talk.
what about the brother? What's the deal about the brother? Do you have a question about him?
Well, I have a question about, he must know something. If you live in the same...
He was gone from 9 that evening until 4 the next afternoon.
But does he talk to his sister? Do they have a relationship? What are the police getting from him? What are the police getting from classmates? You know, where was... I understand that she was supposed to sleep at the father's house that evening or a friend's house, but that couldn't be verified. When did the mother see her last the night before? Where was she? Was she at the father's house? Who really saw her there? Do we have any indication that Atkins actually was with her on the 27th? So there's things like that that I would like.
To Howard Oliver, Deputy Medical Examiner, Forensic Pathologist, joining us out of L.A., you've heard the discussion about the acid that cops believe the boyfriend has access to at his job. What would that do to a body?
Well, it would take a great deal of acid, enough to submerge the body, but it would disintegrate all the tissues off the body, including the bones.
Out to the lines, Tina, Ohio. Hi, Tina.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, dear. What's your question?
Well, it kind of already got answered. I was going to ask, when was the last time the brother seen his sister?
Let's go back over that with Billy Dunn. Billy, you have a 16-year-old son. What time did he leave the house the night before?
I thought he left around... He says he left around 9 o'clock and Hailey was in his room playing his Xbox. I thought he left a little earlier.
Now, what time did you see her last the night before?
I saw her about 10 or 11 o'clock in her bedroom.
Was she still playing games?
No, she was watching TV, laid in bed.
Now, the next morning, you checked in on her before you left, and you believe you saw her lying in her bed around 6 a.m., right?
Right.
You know, I'm here for Hailey. That's the only person that I'm here for, is to bring that child home, get her out of this cold weather.